Hello again, my little conscripts, and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. In today's episode, we are going to be having a cheeky gander at the latest Imperial Guard preview article that GW has put out on Warhammer Community. And let me tell you, it's a spicy meatball. It's a real doozy. It's all gas, no brakes, and I am literally shivering with excitement and anticipation after looking at this thing. It's really good. You know what? I'm not going to blue ball you guys anymore. Let's mount up, roll out, and drive right into this thing.
You there, guardsman! Do you like multi-part plastic sci-fi infantry that doesn't cost a kidney? Well, good news! The Mordian Glory channel is now officially sponsored by Wargames Atlantic. Wargames Atlantic sells fantastic sci-fi models which are perfect as alternative Imperial Guardsmen. This includes the Bulldogs, totally not Praetorians, or the Legrognards, which are totally not Mordians, Vestorians, or Kriegers, all in one box. And the best bit is, Wargames Atlantic offers a bulk buy discount, and the more you buy, the bigger the discount. Perfect for amassing those huge platoons of guardsmen. So what are you waiting, you fool? Click on the affiliate link down below, get yourself some great models, and support the channel today.
So in yesterday's preview article, it was all about the infantry and GW showed off abilities. Today, it's all about the detachments and GW is showing off detachment rules and stratagems for those detachments. So let's just dive right into this. So it starts off with GW talking about how the Astra Militarum has many approaches to war as they do enemies in a hostile galaxy, and that we are going to be getting 4 new detachments in addition to the Combined Arms Detachment and the Bridgehead Strike Detachment. So I think this was already hinted at and pretty well said in the preview show that they did before Christmas, but now it's in writing, it's confirmed. Guard is going to have 6 detachments. We're going to have 5 in our codex, one of which we're already familiar with, and it's basically going to be probably a slight tweak on the Combined Arms Detachment. I would say I don't think Combined Arms is going to be exactly the same as it was. I think they will adjust it slightly. We have seen GW do that when they've taken factions from Index to Codex. And they've also said that we've got the Bridgehead Strike Detachment, which is the one they unveiled with Grotmus, which is essentially Index Scions. And then we get into the second paragraph, which actually gives us a little bit more information on stuff we didn't already know, because we kind of already knew about Combined Arms and Grotmus, of course. So our third detachment is going to be Mechanized Assault. This is for Mech Guard. It's going to be all about transports. It's going to be all about driving up to the enemy, getting out of the transports and shooting them in the face. We haven't got any additional rules for this attachment, but they have confirmed how they want the playstyle to work. And in a similar vein, they've given us a little bit of a hint about the tank detachment. It's going to be called Hammer of the Emperor. It's going to be all about armored spearheads made of thundering tank squadrons. But we haven't been given any additional rules for this detachment. Again, they have mentioned the new Rogel Dawn commanders. I have seen a little bit of concern online that people are saying that the Rogel Dawn tank commanders are limited to the Hammer of the Emperor detachment. Personally, I don't think that will be the case. I think that Rogel Dawn tank commanders will be a data sheet, but it is possible that these Rogel Dawn tank commanders could be an enhancement that is unique to the Hammer of the Emperor detachment. Of course, we'll just have to wait until Saturday when the previews stuff start coming out to know for sure. But it's worth mentioning that we've all assumed that the 6 Rogel Dawn meta could be incoming. I think it's very likely it's going to be incoming, but there's a chance that tank commanders go to enhancements. So we're going to have to wait and see. So that covers the high level stuff that GW is sort of just dangling in front of us, just getting us a little bit excited with. Now we're going to get into the real meat and potatoes of this article. But before we do, let me just blue ball you 1 second. I did notice this really cool picture in the article. And you can see that it's just loads and loads and loads of tanks, which is awesome. We in the Guard love, and I mean love, our tanks. But one stood out for me. It's this one here. This is a Commissar tank. Now, it is entirely possible, and I would say more than likely, that this is just a cool paint job. That's it. But I haven't seen this model before. You can see it's Lehman Russ. It's been upgraded with what looks like the new Commissar model. So they've like kit bashed that Commissar in there. Or maybe it could be a slightly different paint job on the Tank Commander model you get as part of the upgrade sprue. If you know, if you want to do some sort of NCIS, CSR, KFC deep diving on this, let me know down in the comment section. But I think that this is likely a paint job, but it could be a bit of a teaser to steel commissars being a thing in the codex. Again, it could be an enhancement or it could be a data sheet. Commissar tanks are very, very cool. Whenever GW has introduced them into the game, like they did last time in 9th edition with the Guard Codex, they're a very, very popular thing. They're very well received by the community. So it's an easy win for GW if they have given us steel commissars back in any capacity. But of course, we'll have to wait and see. But all right, that's enough edging. Let's get to the hot tamale. The first attachment we've got here is the Siege Regiment. Oh my god. GW cooked with this one. How the Siege Regiment works is you get to call down off-map artillery support. So they clarify in this article that you don't need to have artillery in your army, like you have to pay for fobs or basilisks for this army rule to work. This is very much considered off-map support, which is awesome. I really, really like sort of GW acknowledging the fact that the game that we're playing very much makes up a huge battle on a wider scale, and we're sort of just playing a company that is maybe breaking through in a key part of the battlefield, and that there's all these other battles going on around us, and that there's all this artillery support that the guard can call in that's like miles behind the lines. So straight away, I love the way they've just implemented this, and it's a nod to that scale of 40k. But how does it work? What's the nitty gritty? Well, the artillery support rule means at the start of the battle round, select one of the following types of artillery support. You've got creeping barrage, incendiary barrage, and smoke shells. Now, before we get into what each one of those do, very quickly, I just want to zone in on that start of the battle round thing. That's really good. If it said at the start of your turn, then if you ended up going second, it would mean that you wouldn't be able to use this from the beginning of the battle, because your opponent would get their turn one and then it would come over to you, and then you'd be able to start bringing your artillery support down. But that's not how it works. They've not fallen into that pitfall that we've seen happen in a few other places with a few of the codexes, and they've gone, no, this is from the start of the battle round. So whether you go first or you go second, this rule is going to be kicking in from the beginning of the game right through to the end of the game. That is awesome. So at the start of the battle round, you pick one of three kinds of artillery support. You've got creeping barrage. You roll 1d6 for each enemy unit that is more than 12 inches away from every model from your army that is on the battlefield. And on a 5+ until the end of that battle round, that unit is shaken. While a unit is shaken, subtract 2 from its move characteristic and subtract 2 from its advance and charge rolls made for it. This is unbelievably cool. Unbelievably cool. Like the idea of a creeping barrage, that's like a real world sort of World War I technique. It very much fits in with the idea of the artillery rolling forward, the infantry coming behind. I really, really like that. The creeping barrage is meant to keep the enemy's head down. It's meant to disrupt them. And whilst that's happening, their maneuverability is getting slowed down and your guys are pressing the attack. That feels very, very cool. However, I do think that this is not the most powerful one that we've got here, and that might sound crazy because movement wins games. And this can screw over your opponent's movement, and if you get lucky on those 5-ups, you could definitely end up getting a whole bunch of essentially free basilisk effects, because that's what the basilisk currently does in the index. So you essentially get a whole bunch of like free basilisk debuffs across the enemy, but it's a 5+. And yes, it literally affects every unit in your opponent's army, but it's a 5+. I still think it's going to be really good, but I can definitely envisage the situation where you get the 5+ off on all the units that are kind of sitting at the backfield, not really caring about moving anyway. And you on the units that are like assaulting you, that are going to be getting the charge, that are going to be really screwing with you, you just don't roll the 5-ups there. So it's very swingy. It's very cool, but it's very, very swingy. One thing that is really important to note, though, really, really important to note, is that there's a difference between this and the current Basilisk Shaken, because this affects every unit in the enemy army. Every single one. And the way the Basilisk works currently in the index is it only affects, well, essentially infantry or non. I think it's either infantry or non-vehicular monster. But this one, it's like, no. Whether you're a Land Raider, an Imperial Knight, or a goddamn Gretchen, you can be shaken by the Creeping Barrage. So it's very swingy. It's not reliable. If your opponent's got a lot of deep strike and they can get within that 12-inch bubble, you are going to start struggling a little bit. But it does have a lot of potential. This is the kind of barrage that if you like to roll the dice and take a little bit of a risk, could be amazing. This is also the kind of barrage, genuinely, that could be game winning. It's not going to happen. It might happen 1 in 20 games, but it's not going to happen a lot. But there's going to be that one time when you just go, this is going to be the one time when the game is on a knife edge. It could go either way. It's coming down to the last turn or two. It's coming down to the last scramble for objectives. And you go, fuck it. Creeping Barrage. And you just roll 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Or you just get 5 on a few key units. And your opponent doesn't manage to get that secondary. Doesn't manage to get that primary. And there are going to be stories, I am sure, and there's going to be experiences of super clutch Creeping Barrages. The next bombardment that you can call in is the incendiary one. This is personally my favorite. Select a number of enemy units more than 12 inches away from every model from your army that is on the battlefield. Until the end of the battle round, those enemy units are scattered. While a unit is scattered, it cannot have the benefit of cover. The maximum number of units you can select this way depends on the battle size, as shown below, and in our case, that is, well, for Strike Force, which is your typical 2,000-point game, I should say, that is going to be 3. Yeah, that's right. Just remove cover from 3 enemy units. Like, yes, there is the caveat they have to be over 12 inches away, of course, but just remove cover from the enemy. That's amazing. Oh my god. Think about how terrain dense 10th edition boards are. Think of all those L-shaped ruins. This is going to pair so nicely with your artillery. Because think about how the indirect fire nerf works at the moment, right? The enemy gets the benefit of cover, and you can't hit them on better than a 4. Okay, well, now let's consider the guard datasheets. A lot of the artillery basically is only going to hit on a 4 anyway, or it's going to hit on a 5, and then you order it and it hits on a 4 combined with heavy to basically get past the thing. So what I'm saying is, guard already has ways of essentially mitigating the indirect fire nerf just naturally. But the other half of the indirect fire nerf is you get cover. And that can be a really big thing, because especially if you're using like a Basilisk or field ordnance batteries, one of the biggest criticisms of the field ordnance battery is, yeah, I like it, it's cheap, but it's AP1. So it gets really screwed over by the enemy getting cover against the bombast cannons. Not anymore. Battle round 1, incendiary bombardment, the enemy is almost guaranteed to be over 12 inches from you, especially those backfield units that artillery loves to snipe and harass. I'm going to go bang, 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 no cover for you, and I'm now going to hit you with all of my field ordnance batteries, which are going to actually feel their AP. And if you're going for some bigger artillery as well, they're going to be feeling all of the AP. It's really, really strong. Incendiary bombardment, just let's ignore cover. I cannot overstate how impactful I think this is going to be. Personally, I think this is going to be the go-to one. Just being able to remove cover is really, really strong. Having said all that, and having thoroughly wanked off the incendiary bombardment, let me just say I am very partial to the third choice, which is smoke shells. This allows you to select 3 units in a 2,000-point game and give them stealth. These can be any units from your army. Not infantry, not just tanks, not just platoon, not just regiment. Any units from your army. This is huge. This is actually massive. Any Imperial Guard player worth their salt will tell you how good the smokescreen stratagem is right now. 1 CP, I get to be -1 to hit, and I get the benefit of cover. You basically get to do that with a bit of clever play. You basically get to do that not just on 1 unit a turn now, but on 3 units, 4 units, if you combine smoke shells and smoke screen. Because how smoke works is it gives you the benefit of cover and it gives you stealth. Okay, well, if I have my tank tucked into a bit of cover, then I'll have the benefit of cover, and then if I use smoke shells to cover it, I'm basically pseudo smoke screened. I cannot tell you the number of times that my opponent's firepower has completely withered on the vine because of a cheeky smokescreen stratagem. The fact that I can now do this on what is arguably going to be all of my tanks, because right now I tend to say in a nice hybrid guard force, 4 tanks is enough. 4 tanks tends to be plenty to get the job done. Maybe you want to go up to 5, but 4 tends to be enough. All of them can have smoke now. It's just insane. It's very, very powerful. It's a huge defensive buff. I like it. And the best bit about it is, it doesn't matter if your opponent is 12 inches away, 1 inch away. This doesn't have that caveat of the enemy has to be a certain distance away. You can land those smoke shells right on top of you. This is going to be a very, very powerful ability to have against armies that love to come in and screw you over with some close range deep strikes. Those enemies that would be able to get underneath your incendiary bombardment, your creeping barrage bombardment, this is going to be perfect for it. Tal battlesuits raining down, trying to deliver goddamn Retribution Carja or Montcar, not a problem. Smoke shell, smoke shell, smoke shell, smoke screen, boom. Very tasty. But wait! There's more! We've not even got to the second detachment that they're showing off today. Holy crap. So, it says here, despite the name, you aren't required to take big field guns in your army, as we said before, so it's just off-map stuff. But they also show off 2 stratagems. We've got Over the Top, and we've got Callous Sacrifice. Over the Top is done in the start of your command phase. 1 infantry officer model from your army, that's any infantry officer model, remember commissars are infantry officers, until the end of the phase. When your model issues the move order, it can issue the order to any number of eligible friendly infantry regiment units, regardless of the range to your model. Over the top, man, forward, yes. Oh my god, that is so powerful. That is so good. This is 2 CP. This is a 2 CP stratagem, and I'm telling you right now, I would spend that gladly. Movement wins games. Splashing orders are back, and it is on one of our best orders as well. Move. It's so flavorful. It's so cinematic. It evokes images of Kriegers, Cadians, Guardsmen going over the top, charging into no man's land. You know, all of those iconic images from sort of World War One battlefields, all that stuff. It's right here. Now, I love this just as it is right now. But let me just say, there's one thing that's getting me really excited here, is there is a picture of a commissar on this stratagem. Now, right now, I think commissars can only do 2 orders. They can only do fixed bayonets, and they can only do duty and honor. The implication with this image and this stratagem is that you would be able to do it with a commissar. Now, that could be a big hint. We don't know. It could easily just be GW just having a commissar in there because it looks cool. But that could be a really big hint to commissar orders are being expanded. Now, if you're a 9th edition veteran, you'll remember that commissars used to have their own unique set of orders. We don't know if that's coming back, but it wouldn't surprise me if going from the index to the codex, Guard gets a big range of new orders, or at the very least we get a big expansion on which orders can be done by which officers. long story short, I love the stratagem, and I hope that it is hinting that commissars now can do all of the same orders as regular officers. That would be awesome, and it might mean that there might even be more orders coming in the Codex. The second stratagem that we've got here is Callous Sacrifice. Now, this is the one that was actually already talked about in the preview show late 2024. This is where you can shoot into combat. So it's 1 CP, you do it in your shooting phase, you select one platoon unit from your army that is within engagement range of one or more enemy units, and until the end of the phase, you can those enemy units do not count as being as in engagement range. So what's important to note here is that not only is the infantry unit that is engaged in combat could then technically shoot them, because the enemy units do not count as being in engagement range, which is very interesting use of using that stratagem, because maybe you don't need to start blasting loads and loads of units into it. Maybe you can just go, I don't want to fall back off this objective, 1 CP, I'm going to shoot into the enemy unit. That might be just a little enemy unit left over. That might be perfect. Combine that with a cheeky take aim, you could do some proper point blank firepower. Who remembers the Vestroyan unique stratagem from 8th edition, close repel and all that kind of stuff. The other thing about it is, of course, that other units can shoot in. So you can have like your squad of guardsmen, which is being overwhelmed by a big enemy Death Star unit, but it doesn't want to fall back off the objective. You can have those just basically sit there whilst your whole army piles into whatever big enemy unit is there. However you slice it, this is a great stratagem. It's going to open up a lot of opportunities. It's kind of like pseudo fall back and shoot. It kind of gives you the same flexibility there without the falling back. Of course, there's a chance that you are going to take some damage from this, because while your model's unit is within engagement range of while that model's unit is within engagement range of your unit, roll 1d6 on a 4+1 model from your unit is destroyed after the attack unit has finished making all of its attacks. And that's based on each time an enemy model loses a wound. So there is a chance that you're going to end up rolling a lot of 4+s and that you end up obliterating your own unit, but that's a callous sacrifice. But there's one more stratagem that they have shown off, and that is Minefield. Start of your opponent's charge phase. You select one platoon unit from your army until the end of the phase. Each time an enemy unit ends a charge move within engagement range of your unit, roll 1d6 for each model in that enemy unit. For each 5+, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6. Really good. Really, really good. So, firstly, it's only 1 CP. Cheap as chips. That puts it in the same ballpark as grenades, and being able to throw grenades in your turn and then the enemy come charging in and you bloody minefield them. Awesome. Guard getting access to lots of cheap mortal wounds, but there's still a roll involved, so they're not reliable, not guaranteed. That's a great way of implementing it. Good job, GW. The other thing to mention is that it's until the end of the phase each time an enemy unit ends a charge move within engagement range. So it's not. There's an important distinction here between you don't select one enemy unit and they get minefielded. You select your unit. Now, this means that your minefield could go off multiple times. So let me give you an example. There are other stratagems out there where it's like, oh, you're getting charged by one enemy unit. Use your stratagem, maybe to slow maybe -2 to the charge. That enemy unit is slowed down, but then the next enemy unit that charges you isn't affected. In this case, it'd be like, okay, you're getting charged by like 3 units of 3 enemy assault units. Each one of the assault units would have the risk of taking mortal wounds, and each enemy unit can take a maximum of 6 mortal wounds. So it's really good. In most cases, to be fair, in most cases, you're probably going to have one unit is charging one of your units, and typically it's just going to be a one-on-one fight. But it's important to note the scale that this can go up to, and then if one of your big 20-man guard blobs gets assaulted by multiple enemy units, then each one of those enemy units is going to start taking mortal wounds. And you can think a big Krieg blob stretched all the way out, doing a big screening, multiple enemy units coming in, could be big. The one downside of this is that it's based on enemy models. So if you get charged by one enemy model, for example, a Greater Demon or a Demon Primarch or a Knight or a vehicle of some kind, it's only going to have the risk of taking 1 mortal wound. These are very much anti-personnel mines. These are not anti-tank mines. Now, that alone is a whole bunch of information. GW has dumped a lot of exciting things into our laps. But that's not all. There's actually more. It's insane. They have treated us good. We are eating well today, guys, because they've also given us a big look into a deep dive of the Recon Element Detachment. This is essentially your pure infantry detachment. I have to say, I did call this one. When they talked about the Recon Detachment in the Christmas preview, I said, I think that's going to be the infantry detachment, and lo and behold, it is. It only affects your walkers, it only affects your regiment models. But bear in mind, regiment does include things like your cavalry, and it's also going to include all of your infantry, not just your like platoon, your battle line infantry. So sentinels, cavalry, and infantry are going to be affected by this. I know some of the tank guard players are going to be a bit disappointed, but you have to remember that the tank detachment is probably not going to affect any of the infantry. So treadheads, don't worry, you are definitely going to have your time in the sun. Now, how this works is all of your walkers and all of your regiment units just have the benefit of cover all the time. Doesn't matter if you're out in the open with your pants down, wiggling your ass at the enemy. It doesn't matter. You have the benefit of cover. All game, all the time. That on its own is brilliant. that on its own would have been enough. Okay? But they go further. While such a model has the benefit of cover for any other reason, for example, because it is wholly within a ruin, improve the save characteristic of models in that unit by 1. That is really good. Holy shit. Holy shit, man. Oh, man. Power Armored Guardsman. Power Armored Guardsman. That's what this attachment is. Oh, I'm going to run around with the benefit of cover, and if I'm in cover, I'm going to be on a 3-up save just straight away. It's so good. Durable blobs of guardsmen are so back, man. Are so back. And what's really, really important to note is that Masters of Camouflage, that obviously the benefit of cover is only against ranged weapons, but the second part of it, improve the save casualty models in that unit by 1, that applies all the time. So you'll be on a 3-up save against ranged attacks if you're in cover, but you'll be still on a 4-up save if the enemy gets into combat with you. So it's proper levels of durability. And assuming, and assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups, but assuming that we still have orders like take cover available, it could mean that you could stack take cover with Masters of Camouflage to always have a 3+ save in shooting, because I doubt take cover would stack you to a 2+ save, as it says here, to a maximum 3+, right? So I doubt that you'd have your 3+ against shooting, and then in combat you'd have your take cover, which currently gives you +1 to your save, and then you would have Massive Camouflage. So you could be on a 3-up save in combat and a 3-up save all the time. That's a maybe. What we know for sure is that Massive Camouflage gives you a 3-up save from range attacks if you have the benefit of cover already, and it gives you a 4-up save if you're dug into cover. That's really, really cool. Now, what I really like about this is that second part, because this pairs real nice with Cadians. The new Cadian command squads give you the benefit of cover if you're on an objective. Massive Camouflage says, while such a model has a benefit of cover for any other reason, you get to improve the save characteristic. So if you have a platoon of Cadians that are out in the open, but on an objective, they have the benefit of cover, that triggers the second part of Masters of Camouflage. So power armored Cadians on objectives. I know a lot of people are getting really, really excited around Death Corps Krieg, and yesterday the Krieg and the Kata Challenge seemed to steal the show. But here, I'm really liking those dug-in Krieg platoons. Combine that with the cheeky feel no pain. Jora Cadians, I said cheeky creep platoon, cheeky Cadian platoon. Jora Cadians are here. I'm just, in case I've messed up a few times there, guys. Jora Cadians, Jora Cadians, Jora Cadians. We've also got a little sneak preview on 3 stratagems for this detachment as well. The first one is Courageous Diversion. It's 1 CP, and you do use it at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. You select one of your Astra Militarum infantry or mounted units, so this doesn't apply to Sentinels. Until the end of the phase, your unit has a Feeling of Pain 6 up. That's okay, but 6 up Feeling of Pains are not something to be relied upon. And each time an enemy model makes an attack, if your unit is the closest eligible target, subtract 1 from the hit roll. That's really good. That's really, really good. So, let's just read through this again. Until the end of your phase, your unit has 6 Feeling of Pain, and each time any model makes an attack, not an attack targeting this unit, makes an attack, if your unit is the closest eligible target, subtract 1 from the hit roll. How I read this is, if you've got a bunch of infantry up front, and you've got a Lehman Russ behind, you can spend 1 CP on Courageous Diversion, and if your opponent tries to shoot your Lehman Russ, then -1 to hit. That's really big. And if, again, think about how much you could string this out. If you have a big blob of Cadians, a big old blob of Cadians, a big, just out front, and you've got all your tanks behind, as long as your Cade is the closest unit, all of those vehicles behind could be getting -1 to hit. Let me know if I am reading that wrong. It seems wildly powerful for 1 CP. Wildly. Okay? But rules as written, I'm just going to go through it one more time. Until the end of the phase, your unit has the 6 of Feeling of Pain. That's the unit that got targeted by the stratagem. And each time an enemy model makes an attack, it doesn't say an attack against this unit or an attack targeting this unit. It just says an attack. If your unit is the closest eligible target, subtract 1 from the hit roll. Again, to me, that seems like your guardsmen are providing a lot of covering distraction, a lot of coverage for the rest of your army. If that's how it works, for 1 CP, this stratagem is insane. This stratagem is actually insane. And what's also really cool is your unit that is being targeted by a stratagem still benefits from it. Because even if your opponent is targeting your unit, it's the -1 to hit. However, I could be totally wrong about that, and this simply could be that you target your unit with a stratagem, and the unit that you target with it gets the 6 of Feeling of Pain and gets the -1 to hit. Okay, so let me know down in the comment section how you think this works, because I'm very, very curious. I'm kind of excited about it, but I'm also kind of skeptical because it seems too good for 1 CP. Speaking of really good stratagems for 1 command point, we've got Scramble Field. You do this at the start of your opponent's reinforcement step. You select one of your Astra Militarum infantry units from your army, and until the end of the phase, enemy units that are set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot be set up within 12 inches of your units. I just collectively heard all of the Grey Knight players burst into tears. Salty Simon is going to be really pissed off about this one. He was like, finally, the inquisitorial blob bullshit with the mystics has gone away. It's back and better than ever. Again, this is huge. This is such a powerful stratagem because you can have a big screen of infantry at the front, bang 1 CP on it, and that little big 20, 25 man blob just completely starts zoning stuff out. Massive stratagem, really, really good when combined with guard blobs. For 1 CP, bloody fantastic. And last but certainly not least, we have another fantastic stratagem here, Scouting Outriders. 1 CP, you do it at the end of your opponent's turn. 1 Astra Militarum mounted unit or Astra Militarum walker unit from your army that is wholly within 10 inches of 1 or more battlefield edges and not within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. And you remove your unit from the battlefield and place it into strategic reserves. Now, from a cavalry perspective, I actually don't see this as being super useful because you're going to have to move off the battlefield, and then when you come back in for strategic reserves, you're going to have to stay more than likely 9 inches away. That's a big old 9-inch charge. Sentinels, though, this is really good because you can move off the board and then come back on somewhere else, and you don't really care about being over 9 inches away because you can just start las cannoning. That's great. And also you might find this really, really good for doing secondaries. Oh, I'm just going to remove my unit from the battlefield, and then I'm going to, maybe my cheap unit of Rough Riders, or maybe my lone Sentinel, and then I'm just going to bring it back on somewhere else. It's important to note as well that you can do this in your first turn. So if you've got a unit of Sentinels that are on the board 10 inches towards the board edge, or a unit of cavalry just hiding at the back 10 inches from the board edge, you could go end of your opponent's first turn, 1 CP, go into strategic reserve. Furthermore, because if your opponent goes first and you do this in your turn 1, it would mean that your guys could then come in from reserve in your turn 1, because the whole you can only come in from reserve from turn 2 onwards only applies to units that started the game in strategic reserve or in deep strike reserve. That's how demon players are able to turn 1 deep strike you with their stratagem, when they pick a couple of units up. Same with Grey Knights and stuff. Same with the guard bridgehead detachment, how you can pick those scions up turn 1, you can bring them down turn 1 if your opponent goes first. Even if your opponent doesn't go first, if you go first, and I'm not 100% certain on this, so again, comment section, keep me honest here, guys. But I feel like if you start your unit on the board turn 1, you put this into reserve, from turn 2 onwards, your strategic reserve could come in the enemy's deployment zone. Because again, I feel like the only the turn 2 restriction and then turn 3 restriction regarding strategic reserves and being able to come in the enemy's deployment zone in turn 3, I feel like that only applies to units that started the game in reserve. But I'm not even 10% confident in that being for certain. All right, I'm a guard player. We've only just got our hands on this whole going off the board, uppy downy stuff. Do you know what I mean? We've only just got our hands on it, boys. So let me know if that interpretation is correct, or if you go off the board turn 1, strategic reserve rules still apply, and if you came back on the board, you wouldn't be able to go into your opponent's deployment zone. I'd like to know that for when I use detachment in games. That'd be awesome. Now that covers all of the stratagems and the detachment rules for this article. There is a little bit of text at the bottom here saying that Codex Astra Militarum will be available in the Deathcore Krieg army set, which goes on order Saturday, and it will then be available separately soon after. Hopefully not too long after, because I bet there's going to be a lot of people really, really excited to pick this up. Personally, these articles, the one from today and the one from yesterday, have done a bloody fantastic job of getting me hyped up. GW, I know that you're buttering me up, and I know that you're going to make me be unable to resist buying the Krieg box set, but let me tell you, you're doing a damn good job. You're doing a damn good job. Joking aside, I'm really impressed by everything we've seen so far. Infantry seems to have got more powerful. The artillery support detachment seems bloody incredible. The massive camouflage detachment seems totally viable if you build into it. They seem strong. They seem very, very strong. Do they seem overpowered? I would hesitate to say they were overpowered because we've not seen the full picture yet. We've not seen points costs. We've not seen data sheets or anything like that. So I'm not going to say they're overpowered. What I am going to say is, taken in isolation, taken on their own merits, what we've seen so far has made me feel very confident about this Guard Codex. It feels like, dare I say it, that we had the Codex writing A team on this. There's a bit of a meme. How do you get the B team or do you get the A team? B team, they wrote the Admech Codex, they wrote the Custodes Codex. A team, well, they wrote things, well, hopefully, like the Guard Codex and like the Necron Codex and things like that. So everything I've seen so far indicates to me that the people who have written this codex get it. And I said this a few months ago. I feel like, there's someone at Games Workshop who finally gets the Guard. They've got someone at the helm, steering the ship, steering the army, and getting it right. Now, obviously, hope is the first step on the road to disappointment. But, dare I say it, I'm feeling hopeful. But of course, all of this is just like my opinion, man. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Which one do you prefer? Siege detachment or recon detachment? What is your favorite stratagem out of all of these? And are you more hopeful or less hopeful now that you've seen this article? As always, don't forget to go ahead and like and subscribe. I know it's a little cringe asking for that kind of stuff, guys, but it does really boost the channel and really boost this video with the YouTube algorithm, the all-knowing and mysterious algorithm. That's all for now. Hope you enjoyed this video, and of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time.
Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and patrons. You guys are amazing, truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members, so thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.